This lecture series now will cover matters of morals. And the infallibility, the gift of infallibility given to the church applies more so in matters of morals. Because what do you mean by morality? Morality simply means doing what is right. It is about righteousness, knowing what is right and what is wrong. Okay. Simply put, it tells us what is right, and what is wrong, and what is righteous, and what is unrighteous. One thing very important, right off the bat, you need to understand that the moral law comes from God alone. Moral law is not something that men determine for themselves. Moral law is not something that we try to invent or we try to agree upon. Moral law is something that we discover. They are basic principles revealed to us by God. Therefore, it applies to everybody. Therefore, it is universal. You cannot say that you can have one set of moral law for one nation and another set of moral law for another nation. It should apply to all. All philosophers are in agreement with that. Socrates, Plato, all of them have agreed that indeed, when it comes to determining and doing what is right and what is wrong, it should be applicable to every single individual in this world. Okay. Now, but the problem is, we have over and over been committing the original sin of man. This we will explain. What is the original sin of man? Really? Original sin of man is really trying to determine for ourselves what is right and what is wrong. You remember, we were forbidden from eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We want to determine good and evil for ourselves. And I have here the encyclical of Pope John Paul II that explains this analogy so succinctly. We always want to do it what? Our way. So that's why that Frank Sinatra song has been very popular. My way. I do it my way. No, we don't do it our way because we are not our own. We do it God's way. He gives us the way to live our life and how we can relate with Him. That is morality. That's why we wonder, why is it that we don't listen to the popular demand about artificial contraception? Because it is not something that is to be determined by man. Because it is always within the exclusive domain of God. No matter what. God's kingdom is not a democracy. No, it's not something that we vote on this or vote on that. We determine for ourselves, okay, we'll see if so many will agree that this is a sin, then it will be declared as a sin. It doesn't work that way. God tells us what is sinful, what is wrong. And we only need to follow in love. Because the laws of God is not something to really restrict us, but rather the laws of God are there to show His great love for us. You know what? If we just follow the laws of God, this world will be a much, much better place to live in. That's a guarantee. If only we really follow the laws of God. But that is not the case. Matter of fact, Pope Benedict XVI, in his first homily, immediately tackled the dictatorship of relativism. Remember that? During his, when he was inaugurated, the 265th Pope, attack immediately the onslaught of relativism. Because relativism has no place in morality. Relativism suggests, I have here a very good article from the Orange County Diocese paper. And this is authored by Father Gerald Coleman. I'd like to quote some of his writings here. He said, relativism suggests that objective truth does not exist. That's what it is. That's what relativism is. That there is no such thing as objective truth. Or at least is unattainable by the human mind. Christian claim is premised on the belief that God has revealed the truth about the human condition in the person of Jesus Christ. That's why Jesus Christ said, I am the truth, the way and the life. This truth is valid and binding across time, culture, and personal experience. Cardinal Ratzinger was not yet elected Pope then. This was August 2005. Called relativism the greatest problem of our time and the mother of all heresies. The idea of relativism asserts that the individual alone determines what truth is. Such a belief threatens the very nature of the teaching authority of the Church, as well as the nature of truth itself. Consequently, people become confused about what actions are objectively good or bad. So, truth comes from God alone. Now, let me quote also from the Splendor of the Truth encyclical of Pope John Paul II, when he categorically pinpointed that the original sin is actually the sin of relativism. Splendor of Truth encyclical of Pope John Paul II. He stated here, in the book of Genesis we read, the Lord God commanded the man, saying, you may eat freely of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall die. With this imagery, Revelation teaches that the power to decide what is good and what is evil does not belong to man, but to God alone. And that's even an italics to emphasize that. The man is certainly free inasmuch as he can understand and accept God's commands. But his freedom is not unlimited. It must halt before the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For it is called to accept the moral law given by God. In fact, human freedom finds its authentic and complete fulfillment precisely in the acceptance of the law. God, who alone is good, knows perfectly what is good for man. He knows. He alone knows that, what is good for us. And by virtue of his very love, proposes this good to man in the commandments. That's why the series on morality is actually we are going to take up every single commandment, the 10 commandments. That is the coverage of this lecture series. God's law does not reduce, much less throw away the human freedom. Rather, it protects and promotes that freedom. And for forbidding man to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is the original sin, God makes it clear that man does not originally possess such knowledge as something properly his own, but only participates in it by the light of natural reason and divine revelation, which manifest in him the requirements and the promptings of eternal wisdom. Law must therefore be considered an expression of divine wisdom. By submitting to the law, freedom submits to the truth of creation. And then another excerpt. What is the ultimate source of this inner vision of man? His history of sin begins when he no longer acknowledges the Lord as his creator.